Boo. Well, I thought that would have scared the fuck out of you. You know, there's a lot of horror movies out there that came out through over the years that can define the word terrifying. There's plenty you can think of. I mean, back in the fucking Stone Age, what was some of the biggest films you can think of? At least three of them off the top of your head before the 70s, 60s, or 50s. I'm talking about the 1920s.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. Bela Lugosi's Dracula. That's one
That
of
was
them.
in the 30s, but yes.
Okay. So even the Cabinet Dr. Caligari is one of them.
That's one of the originals.
God, that Nosferatu.
There is Nosferatu.
And there's one more. I don't know why I can't think of it.
Which one are you thinking of?
Oh my God, this was.
There is plenty upon plenty upon plenty.
Oh, I know.
There is the Phantom of the Opera. There is the Hands of Warlock.
I was thinking of
Phantom Carriage. There is so many horror films that define the word spooks. But
I would say the movie I'm thinking of, it's not necessarily a feature-length film, but I showed an image of this to you, Gary, a long time ago. It was a German movie. It's a German silent movie, black and white. It has an image of this. Thank you. That's the one.
Axon.
Yes.
But you can think of films like that, for example. Mm-hmm. But as time progressed, when it came to the world of spooks, it's not just with having monsters or ghouls or focusing on a disfigured human being or vampires. A lot of creativity has came into play. And a lot of these original movies, like Dracula and Frankenstein, came from books.
Yes, they did.
But as we went on, more books came out, thus leading into movies. Now, we all know about The Exorcist, skipping ahead a few years into the decade. The 1970s alone. Now, we all know that this movie, the book itself was written by William Peter Blatty.
Correct. Blatty.
Do you know the original story on how he created The Exorcist?
I heard it was based on actual possession.
You'd be correct. It was based off a case. Now, there's not any visual, or I don't know if there's any audio evidence about this particular case, but it's mostly about this case called The Exorcism of Roland Doe.
That's what I heard about that too. Yeah.
To sum up the story about what happened in this case, it happened in the late 1940s. It was about a young boy whose real name wasn't given out to the general public, but one of the names he's known by is Roland Doe. Now, how did the boy get possessed? The question is, for his 14th birthday, he asked his aunt if he can have an Ouija board.
That'll start everything.
That right there is one of the biggest fucking mistakes that you can do. Because you know why? I'll tell you exactly why it's a bad mistake. Because when you get an Ouija board, it either can be good for the best or the worst.
Yep.
Most of the time, when you fuck with those Ouija boards and you start messing around with spirits, it can fuck you up later on. Thus, so after he played with the Ouija board, that's where he started to get possessed.
Yep.
So, well-known Roman Catholic priest Raymond J. Bishop, he went over and he performed a series of exorcism on this young man. He described him in the best words going by verbatim as horrifying, shocking, and something that's very hard to speak of in explicit words in proper English.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the story, it gave William Peter Blatty the inspiration to give his book, The Exorcist. Thus, later on in 1973, we ended up getting the movie itself.
Have you read the book, Gary, out of curiosity?
No.
Neither have I.
I had no interest in reading the book at all. I'm sure the book is very fucking good.
Yeah.
But this movie alone, there is a lot of films that ended up becoming just absolute euphoric, and I'm going to say that fucking word just for once.
You're actually saying it. Holy shit.
You want to know why I'm saying it? Because I'm reading fucking books, and I got to better up my English grammar and speak.
You're reading the dictionary. It's okay, Gare Bear.
Well, I like the dictionary.
Yeah.
That and the Holy Bible. But speaking of the Holy Bible, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So this movie alone, the story itself is very straight, simple, and forward to the point. It's about a young girl who ends up getting possessed. All of a sudden, here comes the detectives and the priests to perform a series of exorcisms on her to save her life.
Correct.
It's just a mother's worry to help out her daughter.
Mm-hmm. Simple as that. It's a story where how it starts off. We see Father Marin, and I believe it's in Iraq, and he's on the cusp of dying. He's having to take natural glycerin because, as you've noticed, he's having bad heart problems. One day, he sees this little figurine of what is known as Pazuzu. And one day he goes up to these stairs, this huge architecture. Oh my god! I know I'm going to be talking about this later, but one of my favorite shots, or actually I should say this to clarify, some of my favorite shots in film history are located in this movie. One in particular is the quote unquote standoff that Marin has with the statue of Pazuzu and all the dust going by, the sunset, the orange colors with the incredible score just building up and building up. And then it cuts to the relationship, the mother-daughter relationship, that story of Chris and Reagan. Chris is an actress, and Reagan, like you were mentioning, we find out that Reagan has been playing with a Ouija board that she happened to find in a closet, who she calls the spirit Captain Howdy. And unfortunately, Captain Howdy wanted to do more than play with her.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's just like in any other horror movies, but this was like the one that started off right here, is that when you get a small child, they don't know any better. They don't know what's what. And once they start learning about things that isn't necessarily toy-like, when you mess with a Ouija board and you get these imaginary friends who aren't exactly what they are.
Correct.
You know, they start becoming a little more interested within each other. But then the true colors form from said evil spirit that they want to take possession and be reincarnated into another body. It doesn't matter if it was a female or a male, small child, older. It didn't matter. This fucking demon spirit got to Reagan and thus started the cycle, little by little, of her becoming possessed. And all hell breaks loose. But the thing I have to give the biggest respects to this movie for is the fact that it doesn't go right into the batshit crazy.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't go all hell breaks loose in the Met. You want to know what this is? This is a movie where it goes in time periods.
Yes, it does.
It starts off where she ended up getting possessed and how she ended up meeting the said spirit. Then it goes into a cycle where she's, got like a cold, a flu, goes to the hospital constantly.
The hospital sequences.
She gets all these fucking tests done at first, like, checking her temperature, checking her, her urine, getting MRIs,
God, especially the sequence where they had like that tube going down her fucking throat.
Yeah, she did a shitload of tests done, but after she got all these tests, they saw that nothing was physically wrong with her at all in terms of her health. And the thing is that it puzzled the doctors dramatically of what the fuck is going on with her. Is it something mental? Is she schizophrenic? PTSD? They
even mentioned like an alien visitor like invading her.
Something like that. They were correct on the idea of invading her, but it wasn't anything extraterrestrial. This was more of a demonic spirit to where the mother was wondering, maybe she's sick. And the thing is, when her fucking daughter, when they were having that little party and, obviously the daughter was up in her bed, she comes out, walks into her mother, says hi to her mom, and all of a sudden she just fucking urinates on the floor.
And especially even more so, this fucking spider walk.
Oh, that.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
So the thing is that within this movie itself is that it's like I said, it goes through fucking cycles of how she is getting possessed and how this fucking spirit is growing on her more and more and more. The more it's not being taken care of, the more it's just letting it stay, the more it's going to keep possessing her and affecting her, not only physically and mentally, but spiritually as well. Go ahead.
So the thing I was going to add on, when it comes to the whole stages thing, there's something that they point out in the film that makes the emotional state, because they mention that Reagan has been waiting on a phone call from her dad for so long, especially because her birthday's coming up.
Mhm.
And Chris says, "You're not gonna call your own daughter? Like, what the hell is wrong with you?" And Reagan, like, she wants to hear from her dad, and and knowing that she hasn't seen her father and son, because because they got divorced eons ago, or from what it seems like, and knowing the whole family drama is going on, that only makes her break down emotionally, so to the point where this demon goes like, "Wait a second. Not only does this girl trust me in a certain way, but she's weakened not only physically but emotionally," which only gets him right into her just like that. It's a family
Yeah.
drama that just slowly builds and builds, and then right when she's at her weakest, look what happens.
You're literally just adding more gas onto the fire.
Yeah.
Already fucking blazing, but you're just making it look like a fucking bomb exploded. Just
Yeah.
even more so, the fact that this drama is feeding into the spirit that's already taken possession of her. It's
Mm-hmm.
not helping her case at all,
Yeah.
mentally and physically and spiritually.
It's such a great, what I love about The Exorcist, I mean, let's just say it, one of the main things, because this is my favorite horror film of all time. It is. One of the things that I love about this movie is the fact that it is more of a character family drama. I'm a mature one at that, but it's a drama, but it slowly gets those horror elements that slowly mix in. And by God, when those scenes come in, it's some of the scariest shit I've ever seen in a movie.
Here's the thing, though, I picked up when watching The Exorcist. It's
Yeah.
not just surrounding one person. It's
Yeah.
actually, from my mind, a two-story event going on. Why?
I agree.
Because it also focuses on Father Damon Karras.
Oh God, that
You
whole thing
learn
with him and
about
his mother.
his physical health issues. You learn about his fucking past with all the shit that he has encountered of being a priest and how that's affected him. So the dramatic family life that he had, the connection that he had with his mother and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Thus, him having fucking nightmares, panic attacks, anxiety, all this shit that's just physically taking a toll on him. Thus, having all these heart issues that he's been having. And the
Yeah.
fact that he has to be a priest, whether if he's going to the church to, do his routine, or he has to perform exorcisms, it doesn't add up or make his fucking situation even better. So you got two stories going on that will come together later on. And that's what I like. Once again, it's a fucking buildup where you learn about and see how one child is getting possessed, thus to where you see how the father, his possessions that he had in the past, the exorcisms or whatever that's transpired from his journeys around the United States or around the world, of what's impacted him and how they're going to correlate and come together later on in the movie once he gets that fucking phone call. What made all hell broke loose, thus to where the mother had to be desperate and calling the fucking detective and calling in the priest, is the fact that once you start having those fucking screaming fits in the hospital,
Oh,
and what really, no pun intended, broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Once you start climbing down the goddamn stairs doing that spider walk.
Seeing that in a theater, and I saw this last year in a movie theater. That scene to this day still gives me goosebumps.
And the fact that blood was
tomorrow.
coming out of her and everything, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You want to talk about goddamn crazy?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Kind of an understatement to say on that
I mean,
one.
shit, if I saw something like that, just someone walking backwards like a goddamn spider, I wouldn't know what to do.
I would be frozen like a deer in headlights.
I think the mother was frozen deer headlights. Thus, later on, you realize, she fucking starts butchering herself. Not going to say how, but she starts butchering herself. She starts screaming in violent, explicit words that isn't even her at all. It's a demonic voice. Fucking her skin starts turning pale. Her face is getting all scarred up. Her eyes all getting pupil. You want to know the thing that really just made this movie stand out is that the goddamn practical makeup effects.
It looks incredible. Even the fucking pea soup still makes you like, ugh. It still makes you sick to your stomach looking at it. Still does. Good.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, in terms of the horror aspect of this movie now it may not be it may not be considered this type of scare. I do. My favorite quote unquote jump scare in a movie. Well, that scene still creeps me up, but that's not what I'm talking about. There's a scene that takes place in the doctors, and the music builds up, and her eyes open wide to literally the quickest edits of the devil. It may not be considered a jump scare in today's day and age,
Oh, it is.
but to me, that is the greatest jump scare I
Oh,
have ever seen.
here's the thing, though. That devil was not only featured once in that; he was featured a few times.
Out,
It was
yeah.
it was the dream that Father Karras was having about his
Mhm.
mother and everything. And here's the thing: that what made it so fucking terrifying is that there was no music. It was just
No.
fucking just moans and blubbers that's coming from him during this dream sequence. And the fact that once you saw that fucking face, like even for a split
Yeah.
goddamn second, it stays with you.
Mhm.
That
And
is
not to
what makes it.
mention
That's what makes it fucking terrifying. Is that you don't need no ambient music, you
mm-mm.
don't need no suspense. You just need to see that there's this one fucking scene happening. You're seeing a dream sequence, and all of a sudden, here comes the horror. Just bam, right in front of you, just like that. And you don't know what the fuck to do. And here's the thing: it stayed with you.
Oh god, dude. I legitimately, the first time I saw this movie, because of that fucking face, I couldn't sleep right for a month straight.
Like I said, the horror
Traumatized.
movie. When a horror movie is doing its job where it's fucking you up mentally like that, it did its job of what it's supposed to do. It's scaring the fuck out of you.
Oh, it does. But also, I will say the head spinning scene.
Well, speaking of that, we might as well get into the matter of that. Now, once the priests are calling
Yeah.
about the case, the mother gives the details about what's going on with the daughter, how she got fucked up, when this all happened, how it started off slowly, thus leading into the father's interactions of seeing the fucking devil possessing her, the fucking voice, the manipulation where it changes from being possessed for 1 minute to where she's coming out crying, sniveling, wanting her mother. Then it goes right back into her being possessed. And that happens countlessly because
Yeah.
the manipulation factor towards the priest of him trying to perform this exorcism on her is fucking outstanding.
Oh, it's terrific. I mean, there is such a great scene in this film. This is actually way before the priests come in, but it demonstrates what you're saying, like the demon fucking with the family. And the next scene, and that's when like Reagan is screaming, the bed shaking so much, and he's like, "Stop, stop!" Oh, when I was rewatching that today, goosebumps galore is an understatement with that shot.
How about when, she's sitting right here, then all of a sudden, whoop,
Oh yeah. God. There are so many, and this is like I said this earlier. There are so many shots in this movie that
oh, camera work is superb.
it's not only just superb, but this film has some of the greatest shots in film history, especially when Marin finally comes into play, and that fog, and you see his silhouette going towards the house. To this day, I still look at that shot and just say, you know what, this tops almost every other horror film out there, minus
See,
Shining. But yeah,
that particular shot when Maris comes in, that right there sets the tone that the movie is really kicking into full gear.
oh yeah,
It shows that shit's gonna get fucking real, and we're not even ready for it yet.
nah, and it leads into again another one of my favorite sequences, and this is when it's when they're real that's getting thick into the exorcism sequences, and it's when Reagan, aka Pazuzu, just like she does this, the blue silhouette around her, and you see the statue of Pazuzu Lily right behind her. I will never forget the fear I felt looking at that shot for the first time.
There you go.
Never will forget about that.
Thing is that once you got to the exorcism scene, you saw what happened to the one father. He tried his best splashing the holy water.
Yeah.
He tried fucking saying the prayers and everything.
Yeah.
But he couldn't get it done. Karras, this fucking spirit was so goddamn powerful in Reagan, where whatever it is, these priests, the training they had for years to be prepared for something like this, they did not expect or realize how fucking severe that this spear was going to be. It got so bad to where Karras had a mental fucking breakdown.
Yeah.
He not only had a mental breakdown, but he told the fucking spirit to take him.
Yeah.
Told him to fucking take him because he literally couldn't stand it anymore. So he literally sacrificed his own fucking life for the safety and well-being of the child.
That whole entire, knowing that literally, and again, to go back to that point we mentioned earlier, the fact that Father Marin was taking natural glycerin at the time, being so literally at any single moment, and ultimately, like you said, it got to him because it was just too. Because what I've heard, and please, everybody, correct me if I'm wrong on this one. When an exorcism is performed, there is so much that goes to whether it's willpower, your heart, and everything. And knowing Marin's age was played such a huge factor that at any moment, but like it ultimately got to him in the end. But my God, when that moment came in, and it's like, God damn you, take me! And at the last second, you see, bam, it went right into him, leading to when he jumps out the fucking window. When I saw that part when I was a kid, it honestly blew me away seeing that.
I thought he was fucking dead.
As did I, yeah.
I thought he was fucking dead. As soon
Yeah.
as he jumped out the window, landed on this concrete staircase, and he went tumbling down, thought he was dead right there.
Yeah, same.
But I believe in the end it was well worth it for him because Reagan ended up feeling better. She went back to her normal life. She was kosher. She was stable, and she got to have a happy ever ending for her.
Yeah.
That's the thing I like about this movie is that, sure, it's a time lapse of events that are happening. You got two stories going on that end up meeting in the very end, correlating with one another. You ended up getting fucking scares. You got spooks. You got an entire climatic scene that just goes batshit crazy.
Mhm.
You got fucking outstanding makeup on all the fucking spear possessions on poor Reagan. The voices for the demonic spirit alone is just incredible. You buy into it, you believe it, you are sucked into thinking that this was like a real case that actually happened. And just the story writing alone for this being one of the greatest horror movies of all time, it's absolutely sublime. And one of those now today pioneer films that I'm sure a lot of horror films do take inspiration from, thus creating their own types of adaptations or different types of stories relating to possessions or the paranormal or poltergeist and so on and so forth. And The Exorcist, in terms of what I gave it, it was obviously a perfect 5-star rating, is what I gave it all those years ago then, and still to this very day now.
I mean, to say that The Exorcist has been an influential movie, not just a partner, but an influential movie, not just in terms of horror, but in film in general. I mean, you can tell from the way how the horror comes across, the family drama, because really, at its core, The Exorcist it's a drama with the horror that slowly builds and builds until the final act. But this, to me, is the greatest horror film of all time, right there with The Shining. I mean, in 1973, keep that in mind, decades upon decades later,
Ahead of its
this
time.
Hmm?
It's ahead of its time for what they incorporated.
Oh, not just ahead of its time, but like it's for a film to have come out decades ago and for it to hold up like literally a fine wine. I mean, this to me, this is in my top 5 favorite movies ever. Not just one of my favorite, not just my favorite horror film, but it's literally my number 3 favorite film of all time. For me, it's more than a 5. I give my favorite movies a 6 out of 5. To me, this is one of my 6 out of 5 movies. I mean, this is a film that's perfect to watch on spooky season for October. It's a perfect movie to watch just period altogether.
Yeah, if you're a big horror fan.
Oh, especially. And if you love a good demonic possession movie, like this is the demonic possession movie. This is that. I mean, there have been possession films that have come out since then, like Exorcism of Emily Rose, not to mention
that was interesting.
that there's Oh my god, what was another one? Deliver Us from Evil, which I
You
thought
can
was
think
very
of
underrated.
the Conjuring movies
The
as a great
Conjuring is brilliant.
example.
Yeah.
You can think of that stuff like that. You can think of Poltergeist.
Yeah.
You can think of Christine.
Mm-hmm.
You can think of The Fog. I don't know if that's possession, but film like that.
It's still horror though, but I mean, to say that this movie has been such an influential piece of filmmaking and not just horror, but in film in general, it's so evident of what this movie has done for film. I mean, I could speak my praises about this movie for ages and ages and ramble on, but I'm just gonna leave it to that. It's just a perfect movie.
Yeah, time for you to shut up now. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to have to do it for this talk about The Exorcist. Let us know in the comments down below your thoughts about this movie. Let us know how you're feeling about The Exorcist alone. And with that being said, ciao for now.
Later, guys.